We have seen faithful pastors struggle emotionally, financially, and spiritually after years of service. Some hold on to the pulpit, and not out of pride, but because they simply have nowhere else to go. For many, the pulpit has been home for decades, a place of purpose, calling, and identity. But what happens when the voice that once preached hope now grows weary? Retirement in ministry is rarely discussed, yet it's a reality. So today on this conversation, we want to focus on what happens when a pastor wants to leave the pulpit to retire. By the way, is that something like retiring from the ministry? That's something I want to understand today. And I'm joined by a team of ministers. Today, Crosstalk is a show of pastors made by pastors. What an amazing opportunity to have amazing guests in this studio that will be looking at the theological aspect of this conversation that we are going to be having today. Joining me on set is Dr. John Mbugua. Dr. John Mbugua is married to Mary for the last 32 years. Mine has only been 4 months and some 22 days. So you can see we are tracking. Yes, and they are blessed with 2 sons who are now adults. He's been in ministry for over 25 years. Currently, Dr. John serves as a trustee for Karura Community Chapel and as the chair of the National Governing Council of Bible Life Fellowship Kenya. Dr. John authored a book, Shepherding the Sunset Years for Clergy. Most welcome to Crosstalk. Also joining me is Reverend David Njai Muga. He's a retired SEK church minister. He's been in ministry for how many years now?
For 11 years. I was a teacher before, so I joined for the last few years. 11 years.
And you retired at 65?
Yeah, 65.
Now you are 70.
Now I'm 70 because it was around in 2019.
Yes.
So you can count, this is my 6th year. 6th.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you are feeling nice?
Yeah, I'm feeling nice. And I'm doing day-to-day some activities.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy with it.
Karibu sana. Also joining me is a panel of amazing guests. We have a psychologist on set. You know, when you talk about retirement and you don't know where you are going to, hey, my friend, emotional torture. It's something that you can experience, and loneliness. Also with me is Reverend Willis Odero, who is a course senior pastor, International Christian Center, based in Kitengela. Also with me is Dr. Luke Mwangi. Dr. Luke Mwangi is one of the people who are passionate about tent making of ministers, founder of Jesus Breakthrough Assembly, the Glass Church, just around the Dagoretti corner, if you know that place. It's an amazing church. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Asante for coming. I'm also joined by Reverend George Shiramba, who is the senior pastor of Karura Community Chapel. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Happy to see you.
Thank you.
Asante sana. An amazing opportunity. Also joining me are 2 ministers, Minister Melissa Wambacha, who is a student and a minister at KG University. Most of pastors went through KG. So welcome, Melissa. And also with us is Keziah Mudhoni, who is also a minister. Karibu. We start our conversation now. Let me start with you. Were you retiring out of your own will or because of a system that was already created within a church?
Yes, I retired because of a system where when you come to 65, you must retire. Even if you are archbishop, even if you are bishop, I think all of us, we have to retire at that age when you attain it. So if it was me, I could have continued because I felt that the work was good for me. Yeah.
So what came into your mind at that particular time?
When I was told about
yes,
I did not like it very much. Although I knew that when I attained that age, I must retire. But parting with my congregation, where I worked for 7 years with them, I really felt it. And even I had to plead to my bishop, can you give me more time? Like according to the constitution we have there, you can be added 2 more years after attaining 65. But he did not like it. I had to retire because there are so many young men who are coming up and they need to be positioned. Yeah.
Okay. So, Dr. Before we get into the book itself, is there something like retiring from ministry?
You retire in terms of going to another phase or serving God. Otherwise, you serve God until the last day he calls you. But there are different phases of serving. Yes.
What then should a pastor who is in ministry full-time need then to know? Because if then there is a retirement, then there is an aspect of calling. So then where do we draw the line? Because we've seen ministers who've retired from active ministry, but still goes somewhere in Mushada and creates their own congregation and say, no, this is mine for retirement.
Okay, thanks a lot for that question. Yeah, it's good to realize that the energies will also go down. There is the issue of also leaving a legacy. And you need to move to a different role where you are mentoring, guiding, holding people's hands, instead of what now you're saying, going to start a new congregation. It will still be very fulfilling to do those things instead of being actively at the pulpit. And that will also honor God, and you'll also prepare the next generation.
Reverend, let me come to you, because you are still in full-time ministry and you lead a church. Is this something that is taught?
Let me say that it is in the Bible. Yes. As to whether it's taught or not, I cannot speak for all the churches, but it is in the Bible. And you look at the life of Moses, you almost see three clear phases. There was a phase where he was in the palace, very strong, very eloquent, and that phase ended. And then now he goes, he's a shepherd in the desert. And that's a totally different role. He leaves the place he was in, like he said, where you know the people and all that. He's separated from that. And that's a totally different phase. And so when now God comes to take him to the next phase, he says he can't, because he's like John has said, he's no longer strong. He can no longer speak very eloquently and all that. But then his purpose does not stop. But his strength is coming to an end, to the extent that God had already planned for his brother Aaron to come and even assist him to interpret and to talk, because he was no longer able to talk as much. So the Bible actually gives us those pictures of that process. Yes.
Wow. Dr. Luke, why are we seeing a lot of resistance when it comes to pastors leaving pulpit?
Yeah, one of the challenges has been that during the time a pastor is serving, depending on the denomination and the ministry ethics and protocols, some people have been taught that you should not do anything else. During that time, everybody is there. Your children are there. Some people even push their wives to resign. So it looks like all the family effort is in one thing. Now, when it comes to the time of retirement and there are no structures to usher that pastor out and his children, that is where even most of the church splits are there, because somebody has invested everything there. Whenever others even took the furniture from home to bring to the church when they were beginning. Others sold cars. So even the children are wired that way. But one of the things that should be there, first of all, the pastor himself must be thinking about exit. Even the children should be given opportunity to grow. It's not like a pastor that all the children must be there playing a drum, a keyboard. We should allow our children to grow in the various professionals, so that not only the pastor and the family who would have a transition to the next level, even the children themselves should have the liberty to fit in various professionals and careers, so that again, there is no despising of the priesthood. And again, sometimes the congregation must be able to take care of the minister.
All right, we'll come back to that, but let me just bring Reverend William in terms of the aspect of even pastors who speak about stewardship and prudence on financial matters still fear retirement.
The conversation around retirement is a conversation that within our church cycle is there because it's embedded into the Constitution. Initially, the retirement was at 65. And then you could be extended 5 years. The Constitution was reviewed, and now we go a little bit like judges, and we can do up to 75, because they realize some of us at 75, you are still strong. And as John Bugwa was saying, you can mentor others, and I think that's where now we are going. Back to your question on we talk about stewardship and how come we are not prepared. I think retirement is a conversation that emotionally, psychologically, we have to continue to discuss and just be prepared. Is one thing to talk about it, and is another thing to be prepared. I like what Dr. John was talking about, and my colleague here was also talking about, transitions in life. We have to be cognizant about transition in life. I've had the privilege of transitioning a number of times. I began my career as a banker. I transitioned, did marketing for some time. I transitioned, worked in the financial sector as an accountant, transitioned. Now I'm in a pastoral role, and I'm looking forward also to transition. And from where I sit right now, I have discovered that pastoral work is a lot of work, particularly if you are in an emerging congregation and you have to do a good job. It requires a lot of you. So as a steward, I think we need also to be prepared to steward into the retirement.
Okay, we'll come back to that, but let me just, maybe if you are at ICC, the 75-year would have given you a good window of ministry. Yes, but let me come to you, Dr. John. If you listen to what we are getting here, is that the push where you thought then you needed to do a book that then will speak to the retirement of clergy?
Yes, from the discussions, which I'm enjoying a lot, and I'm very happy for all what we are discussing here. Many ministries are done for purposes of the congregation. But the area of ministry to the church ministers themselves, they are not many. And the issue here is, as congregation, we want the clergy, the pastors, to feed us. And for them to be able to feed us well, we need also to support them and to have a ministry or ministries to support them, be it visitations, be it praying with them, be it thinking about their retirement, be it thinking about their children, their wives. Those are ministries which we need to think. Yes, the chief shepherd takes care of them, but even at the local level, we need also to take care of them. And that was one of the biggest drive, that feeling there's a big gap in terms of ministry to the church ministers.
Okay, all right. When you retired, Reverend, was the church willing to absorb you still in ministry, or the door was closed?
The door was not closed, actually, because even now I'm used to go to attend churches, other churches, but day-to-day activities, those one you have to stop. But on Sundays, we are invited here and there just to go. At the same time, I have involved myself with a certain ministry called Victory by Submission, where we look forward to help those who are who do not have. So I involve myself in that capacity, but the church is not involving me to a day-to-day activity, apart from Sundays, where I'm invited to go and either preach or administer the Holy Communion, especially to the people who have not been ordained. So I take it that way. But I'm a little bit active because my home church, where I went back after retirement, Like now I have got more than, this month I have not attended because I'm a little bit busy elsewhere. Yeah.
I thought when somebody retired is just now chilling. You look like you are busy now more than you are.
Yeah, because you are invited here and there at the same time. But during the weekdays, you are there to do your own activities. Yes.
Okay. Let me come back to Rev. Within your peers of ministers, what have you seen is the biggest challenge when a minister has to leave the pulpit?
When you look at Moses, like at the first phase where he was in the palace and all that, his reliance on his strength and inability and the lack of wisdom, you can clearly see it. And so you begin to see the same with the younger pastors. When they come in, they don't have the necessary wisdom. They have strength, they have ability. And so they are not able to always make very wise decisions. And I think if I'm to speak then to the elders of the church or to the systems, I would say that the elders of the churches or the system, they need to put structures in place to help people at that particular phase so that they can make the right decisions within a system. So for example, if I'm to think of if a pastor is to invest in long term, maybe in a house, because maybe when you retire, you've been living in a vicarage and you have to move to your own house. You need to start early. And I think the churches need to have systems in place where they can help the younger pastors to be able to start putting those kind of things in place. The second phase of Moses, what you see is after he moved now into the shepherd, is you find he was pretty discouraged and almost a sense of giving up. And you'll find the various pastors in the various phases. At that particular stage, you need people around you who can support you so that your self-worth does not go down. The third phase that you see Moses in is he's now gone back, now he's leading the Israelites out of Egypt, is he wants to do more than he should do. And now he's much older. His father-in-law has to come and tell him to put structures in place so that to help him, so that even when he's leaving, the people continue. And he does not have to hold on to everything. And so those are some of the dangers that you still see on a day-to-day basis, where people don't either understand the phases they are in, or the leadership is not in a position to help them because maybe even the leadership does not understand those particular phases, and then the pastor himself might not really be wise enough to understand. Thank you.
From a psychological point of view, what is the most difficult thing that somebody who is retiring faces in life?
On the psychological perspective, we are training people on how to distribute their energy. Because look, you are concentrating on the spiritual side, but again, you should know that we are living in two worlds, the spiritual world and also the physical world. And so there are things that pertains also the demands of your body, psychological demands, and then the spiritual demands. But you realize that our concerted effort has been put much on the congregation, on the people in the church, because the church, now they call you daddy, father, you see. Most of the times, clergymen feel at home in the church than feeling at home within their family circles. You see that? And so they don't distribute their energies. They just put their energy there. And you see, they get a lot of accolades when they are in the church. The way they treat you, the way they welcome you, the way they serve you, the way they honor you, the way they run up and down when they see you. And of course, psychologically, as a human being, you really feel that you need that atmosphere of comfort. In psychology, we say the id part of you. The id part of you is a pleasure part of you that just needs the comfort, that just needs good things. And then the ego part of you. The ego part of you is the part of you that just wants to feel nice when it is pampered, when it is soothed. So you see, the emotional aspect of it is that we are not prepared. And we need to move in this journey of life. And in psychology, we'll say that you do the best of yourself from age 0, that is from the mother's womb, up to the later part of your age. Now, coming at age now 45, moving, in fact 40, moving up to 60, is another stage in life whereby now you should now know that you are very much focused and things are either working out or not working out.
All right.
Yes.
Hold it there. We are coming back so that you tell us what needs then to happen. But Dr. in the aspect of just researching and putting this together, what were some of the gaps that you identified that made you feel maybe majority of ministers are not well prepared for retirement?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. I will put it internationally and locally. One of the researches I did was a PhD thesis done by a lady called Teresa in US. The dad was a pastor for 40 years, senior pastor in the Southern Baptist. And financially, he was okay. But in terms of usage of time, that when he retired, he started struggling. And so the daughter then felt the need to do a research so that the pastors coming after, later after the dad, they could be helped in terms of the non-financial planning. Coming locally, the gaps are many. And I will go back to the pastor in our local area. There's a pastor who had a church. The church is made up of mabati on the roof and even on the walls. And I believe there are many of those kind of churches in Kenya. And then you see on Sunday, there's only one car parked out there. And that car is for the pastor. And the assumption is the pastor is the one doing very well in that congregation. But the truth is, this pastor, when a lady maybe is about to give birth at night, this is a pastor where people run to go and pick the car and so that he can take that lady to the hospital. They don't fuel sometimes. So again, it's the pastor to do that. When there is somebody's school fees is lacking, he's the same pastor. When somebody is in hospital, he's the same pastor. That is a live example. And when that pastor retired, because whatever little was coming as offering and all that, he was like giving it back to the same congregation. Then at the end of the day, he didn't have anything. And then now the congregation starts wondering and worried what happened to our strong and able pastor. So those gaps need to be there and looked at, addressed, and so that where there are no systems and processes, in terms of retirement, like, a retired pastor coming from MCK, there are systems and processes. But many churches in Kenya don't have those systems. So those are the pastors we really need to support so that those gaps can be addressed.
All right. And we'll be coming to practical ways of doing that. But let me ask you, Dr. Luke, why is it so difficult for a minister then to invest for retirement? Is it a theological issue or a church structure issue or just a personal issue?
Yeah, I think mostly, just like you have mentioned, those three levels, there are people who serve organizations that do not allow a minister to think about anything else, which I think is quite unhealthy, because a pastor has talents, he has gifts. Even when Jesus they needed to pay the taxes, Peter had to be told to go and fish to get taxes. So there are potentials of a minister, because before you become a pastor, sometimes we have even practical training. So I think one of the things I would encourage the denominations that tell people that you must keep everything aside, by the time they tell them that, they should have also taken care of everything there will be after that. If you don't have that opportunity, even when they are still serving, allow pastors to do tent making, like Paul. Paul is the most effective minister, 2/3 of the New Testament, 30,000 kilometers of missionary journey. And that never stopped him from tent making until the third time, the last part. So that's one of the areas. The other thing, of course, is the theology. People have been told you must break your oxen, like Elijah. People teach those things a lot. When you are called, break the oxen. And also the issue of Jesus. Follow me and I'll make you fishers of men. Those kind of teachings have really done a lot of harm without thinking. Like even Peter himself actually built the ministry of Jesus from debt. with his fishing skill. So and Paul. So those, I think we need to pick some strong people who have made it in a marketplace and also still excelling. So that issue of being people having the wrong theology. I've trained a lot of pastors in the country, over 30,000 pastors in refresher courses, and that has been a big problem. People have been told, break your oxen, leave. Only to realize you need the oxen later when you are leaving, you are exiting again.
Okay, let me bring in Reverend George here, because Doc has talked about the balance between ministry and business. Most of the times, and majority of congregation sometimes feel when a minister is doing both ministerial work and business, they tend to flaunt their wealth. Now we see ministers with security. We see a lot of these things on our streets. So it comes to a balance where I feel that's my tithe, that's my offering. As a minister, how do you balance in a case where you need to do ministry, but at the same time, do business as a tent making?
Let me again just go back to my example of Moses.
Yes.
When you look at the first phase of Moses, there is a sense in which he overestimated himself and even overestimated his role. So one of the things you see lacking in Moses at that phase is humility and thinking of yourself more than you should, which the Bible does not encourage us to. And so he goes on to, at that particular phase, he goes on to do things that he thought will even help his people. But actually those are now the things that break him. And I think that is where many ministers then end up doing. They end up trying to be God. They take on the role of Messiah. And then they fail to be right on the ground and understand the real issues. And that is now also, you see it affecting him now in the next phase after his retirement from the palace. Is his self-identity is now in crisis because he had thought of himself as someone else and now he's at a totally different place. Of course, God's purposes don't stop even throughout all those phases. But one of the things that you begin to see is there's certain, and the investment here is not just financial. You begin to see that one of the, when God calls him now to go and work with him to move the Israelites out of Egypt, the person he sends is Aaron. That's a family member. So you can imagine if, of course, they had a lot of trouble as slaves, if Moses had not invested in his family. And so investment here is not just financial. There is a huge social aspect where you need to actually invest in. Because for his next phase, you begin to see now his interaction with his family where there is that problem with his sister, elder sister and all that, and he has to work closely with his brother. And if there was no clear investment, you begin to create problems in your next phase of retirement. So investment has to be beyond just the financial. It has to be much broader.
Okay. All right. Maybe pass it to Melissa then, because I need to also hear the ladies. They support most of the men in ministry. And sometimes you don't see men supporting them. So we'll come to you. But let me ask you, Dr. Rev, because now you are retired. Are there things that ministry stopped you from doing? That you felt if you had a leeway, now that you're in retirement, you realize hey, there's quite a lot I could have done.
There are some speakers who used to come and talk to us. And they told us, and I think it is the most important thing for those who are working, that the first day of your working, when you are employed, you need to start investing or putting some, or thinking about retirement. And from there, you start keeping whatever you can be able, so that you can prepare yourself for it. Then we were told, this is a reality, that a clergy must make sure that he is not very much involved with, let's say, fame, let's say women, we have the two, and even fame and even money. You are very much involved that you cannot be able to do things. And you need to work hard for your family and for your children so that you can invest in them and even invest to other people. So we need to understand whatever, because like Anglican Church, we get very little compared with them. But if you keep something for yourself for your future, for sure you see that you are somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, not actually getting lost there.
All right, I saw Reverend William smiling when you said they get more. So I want to come back and just understand what is this more. But But as I come to you, Melissa, I just wanted to do a follow-up. Daktari, should ministers then just serve until they are called home?
We should, yes, be in God's vineyard until the last day. And work in itself, actually, is a blessing, and God loves us working. So that should be very clear. And there are more than 500 times when God has talked in the Bible, not just God, just mentions about work. And even in the Garden of Eden, remember, there was also work which Adam was given. Now, the issue of continuing until the last day, yes, that's what should happen, because the call doesn't end. But what you're talking about here is the phases. You need just to be clear, and the psychologists talked about the different ages. Yeah. So we should be clear that, yes, continue serving, being in the vineyard, but in different roles. And that role, one of them, if you are somewhere where there was paid income, because that's what you're calling retirement, and because maybe I've said that, I can say, there's interesting thing about, even in the research when I was doing, about what is retirement. Actually, people have very many definitions. Is it severance from
long suffering,
a pay slip, yes. From a pay slip? Is it getting your pension benefits? Is it living with? So people have a lot of definitions. So yes, they should continue serving, but at the same time know the phases they are in, and one time that pay slip will not be there, much as you continue in God's vineyard. And how then will you be able to take care of your needs? And remember, in the Bible, Genesis 41, and I think 41, 42, the issue of the 7 years of plenty and the 7 years of famine. So if those 7 years now, they find you when you are 70 and all that, you need to have saved. For Joseph, they did 20% or 1/5. So we should also be doing something. Thank you.
Okay. Melissa, when you listen to all this, as a young student who is studying ministry work and you are still in KG University, what comes to your mind? Are you making the right choice?
By God's grace, I hope so. But I'm really learning a lot, especially matters of preparing yourself. In the book of Numbers 3, when the Levites were being given instructions, they were told at the age of 55, you should stop the heavy work and then now move to the supervisory kind of work. So listening to Daktari and bishops and Daktari as well, I'm learning that you really need to be aware of the phases that you're in, that I am in, and prepare adequately for it.
Okay.
Yeah. My major question right now that is coming to my mind is matters of financially. Like, what are the systems a young minister, like for example, I should put up so that to ensure when that time comes, I'm not struggling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Daktari will answer that, but let me have Reverend William. Who should take care of a minister? Is it the congregation or the elders and the deacons? There are others where a pastor is the full structure.
Thank you very much. I have a finance background, and having had the privilege now of serving as an associate pastor and now a co-senior pastor, and if I have to use like ICC, for instance, we work through a budgetary system. Pastors get a salary. Church staff members get a salary, but even within, at the end of the period, we have a budget. Like now we are preparing budgets for 2026. And those budgets will be ratified through the deacon board that oversees the financial operations of the church. And therefore that helps us to work within a budget. But we are also cognizant of the fact within the Kenya Assemblies of God, there are some churches we are supporting, they are under trees, or they are very small, like what Mbugwa was saying. And they also need to be supported so that the pastor is able to be at a place where, as the congregants come, some of them don't have money, you know, they bring whatever they have to be able to support the work of the ministry. So I want to believe that within a church setup, whether it's a smaller church, we need to have systems. And when we have good systems, then the congregation is also encouraged to know that whatever is coming in is not all for the pastor. Because people will have very bad assumptions about the pastors or men of God, okay? And it's not only a Kenyan thing, and Bugwa, you are the researcher. I think most men, the clergy, are the least paid when you do a lot of research, apart from my brother there is saying you guys are doing a good job. I've had the privilege of working in a bank, working as a finance, working as an accountant. My colleagues in my same level, when I was joining the pastoral role, I was already doing a master's in business administration in strategy. And I have friends, you know, we went to the school together, but what they are being paid is not what a clergy is being paid. But at the same time, we end up doing a very good job. So what I would say is that the churches should come up with a system where the clergy are also compensated in a manner that they can take care of they can take care of their needs. Okay. But there should also be a good separation between the pastor and the money, okay? So that they see it as a system, so that people don't have this notion that, you know, pastors are just, whatever we bring is what the pastor is using to educate the children, to, you know, to do all these things. Okay. Ministry itself is very, very involving. You talk to Dr. Luke here, talk to my brother here, and even those ministries that we make our accounts public because we do an external audit of our accounts. At the beginning of the year, we ask the congregation to come. We tell them this year, this is all what came in, and we did this with the mission, we did this with administration, we did this. So it's an open book. And somebody can say, oh, these guys are making a lot of money. But the idea is God's work needs to be done in a good way.
With a lot of excellent. I like
that. A lot
that.
of excellent. Thank you.
Let me just pick the question that Melissa did ask in terms of financial systems, then that needs to be put in place, mostly for younger ministers who are yet to retire. But as we do that, maybe practical steps, 2 steps or 3 steps that then we need to put in place.
I think the first thing is to say, they usually say there is 7 wonders of the world, and sometimes some people try to squeeze an 8th wonder, sometimes of the wild beast crossing from Tanzania to Kenya. But there are other people in finance who say that 8th wonder should be the compounding interest. And there are a lot of tables and calculations showing when you are young, if you put 500 shillings, say, for 40 years, and somebody else at 40 puts maybe 5,000, you might find the investment of that 500 almost coming to the same, like the one of 40 years. Why? The compounding interest is a very good thing for the young church ministers and pastors. Apart from the compounding interest, there are various areas you can put that money. There is something called individual pension plan. So you can put that money, that's the minimum they take, most of the fund managers, 500 shillings. And remember, Retirement Benefits Authority, with the Retirement Benefits Act, they ring-fence the issues of pensions a lot. And also because you are being pulled together with a lot of people. So the funds will be, that 500 shillings will be invested with billions. So it will end up also getting the warmth of the billions, and you get a good return. So 500 shillings, if any pastor can put that, there. Money markets also have been another big thing. Minimum, again, 500 shillings. That money, again, will be able to grow if you put it when you are young. And lastly, something which is also known by everybody, the SACCOs. Most of the time, you find an interest returns of about 12%, 11% from SACCOs, even 13%. And if you look at the interest rates, returns at the moment, we are talking about 7.98, about treasury bills around there. So 10% and above is a very good rate. So you just need to put aside very little. And as I conclude this, for the young pastors, you have time on your side, and that's a very big advantage.
Wow. Pastor Luke, now that he's talking about all these things that needs to be put in place, and mostly for younger ministers, who should man these things?
The back falls again at deacons sometimes. There are some churches that are taken care of by deacons, who are also appointed by pastors. And sometimes those deacons also become demons, because sometimes they vow to make sure that they use that to control the pastor and to make sure. I pastored one church somewhere, and I met a group of people who are determined to make sure that the pastor is very frustrated, and they were very happy to show me a very ruined house of a pastor. You see, that is also demonic, because naturally you are supposed to be happy. You should not muzzle the oxen when it is treading on the wheat. That is what the Bible says. So that balance is quite challenging, especially for indigenous churches, because the pastor now there has to make a decision. And sometimes there is nothing to share. So completely there is nothing to share. After you have paid your bills, it is God to help you and crown you in heaven and bless you with other ways. So those are the challenges, I would say, depending on the ministry. There are those ministries that where you as a pastor has to manage that coffer. And sometimes the deacons you have given, depending on the authority you have given. But if for the mainstream churches, they have got a structure. Anybody entering into that ministry must understand that ministry and accept that that is the way it is done. The others, we have to survive and believe God that this well that you are hitting one day will refresh you. If it doesn't refresh you, God will crown you in heaven.
Just one thing to add to what you are saying. I would recommend, and when you read Dr. John's Mbugwa's book, to manage, managing finances need a bit of financial literacy. And some of these pastors may not have the capacity, even if they run their own individual ministry. There is need to get that support. And I would encourage, in terms of managing that, they get organize an insurance company or a pension fund organization that manage pension funds, so that you get that support. Because if you put your retirement with your car money and you are saying this lady is going to be taken to the maternity and you don't have the money, you will easily mix them up.
Okay, all right. Let's listen to Kezia. Just this conversation, being a lady minister, what comes to your mind?
Thank you. What I think, buying from his idea about the big structured church like ACK, PC, and all those churches, and now the indigenous church, there is a very big gap and difference, because you see, like the big churches, they have a structure even of retirement. When you are being put on that position, you know that you are going to retire in 5 years. So you are prepared. You don't have a lot of weight. Unless when you get an attachment, now when it comes to emotional, when you are attached to that position, now it becomes a problem. But when it comes now to indigenous church, I've seen these churches where now the congregation, when the pastor is not in, or apostle or prophet is not in, the congregation cannot even listen to the word to the minister who was left that day to preach. So when you get attached, you raise this kind of children to get attached to you. There's a problem both for you and congregation. And when time comes for you now to retire, there will be a gap for you, both for you and for the congregation. I also agree with him about tent making.
Yes.
Yeah, especially these indigenous, because congregation nowadays are looking at you. How are you spending our money? How are you spending our time? The transparency, while you do your own business, so that when you build a mansionette, you are able to explain to people where the money is coming from.
I just wanted to understand from what she's raised about the gap. When you did transition, did the congregation that you are leading feel like you left a gap, or the transition was smooth?
There is always a gap, because the way you are doing things is not like the way the other one you do. So it is very important that we keep the gap being minimized in a way that we can be able to help our congregation. Otherwise, it's a matter of thinking of yourself and knowing that you are leading some people. I remember a case in my home there, a priest who did not mind when he was working, and when he was retired, he did not have anything to eat during the lunch hour. He always go to the shopping center and just talk to some men who are idle there. Now auliza, mmenipatia nini nikakataa? Sasa you sympathize with him, and they used to go one by one, kwa sababu hata kesho atakuja. So we need to feel that the gap is minimized in a way that especially you arrive, your children and anybody else there at home, that you are expected to do this, don't fail them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Odwar, we are at age 60. As you take us to the next cadre of age and what we need to learn, I will come to Reverend George. Just what would you tell your younger self? Let's you first.
Some of us, even pastors and bishops, you look at, they have retired well, but you see the son or the daughter is still a drunkard, or they are doing all manner of immoral activities. They are not happy. So it is both spiritual and also mentoring them psychologically, so that even as you retire, I am appreciating the comfort I have at the point of generativity is that I'm appreciating my child. It's also about how I appreciate the things that I've done in the past. You know, you can retire frustrated. And this is the next level that I'm coming to now. When we are talking of this subject, retirement is, to me, in my definition, is refinement, which means I get a new energy to do certain things that will please me. Retirement is just doing some things in a different way, leaving other people to appreciate what you have done. In fact, a good retirement must leave you appreciating the work you have done.
Good.
Some people are taking over the work that you have done. You also clap for them, and they are proud that, were it not of my father here, I could not be like this. You see that? So that is what we call retirement. New roles that are changing, you'll find that they are now coming. They still esteem you. They still value you, because they are now valuing what you had put in them. Okay. So that is what we call, now we call ego integrity. Okay. You become now, at ego integrity, that is 65 and above, you become philanthropic. Philanthropic in ideas, philanthropic in material things. You are distributing and dispensing without reserve, because you know you are getting to the last.
Good.
But without which, you are in despair.
Thank you. That's another topic right there, but we'll get into it. Yes, I just want to get from Rev, what would you tell your younger self?
Our purpose does not change, but our various phases change. And like I said, in the case of Moses, in his first phase, there are certain things that happen to him that I, as a person, as a younger person, I wish I had appreciated every opportunity. So, for example, Moses had parents. He had a mother, he had a sister, he had a father, and all that. These are people who took care of him. And then God's hand leading him to the palace, where he could actually even study and understand the language, to the extent that even in future his purpose was continued to be fulfilled when he was leading the Israelites. When God gave him the word, he understood, because he was literate, he could write, because of the little opportunities he had when he was young. And so one of the things that I would wish is to have appreciated a lot more the things that God had put before me that lift me to the next level, and taken full advantage of them. I'm obviously glad that Moses had the privilege of having his mother, who even took care of him in the palace, to teach him the history of his people and to give him an identity. Those are things that, for me, I didn't appreciate them. But right now, I'm looking back and saying, these are things that God puts in our way. There are, of course, a few other things that sometimes as pastors you go into a church or even in a theological school and you think it's going to be perfect. But when you look at the life of Moses in the first phase, he got into the palace and he realized there are politics. And actually he was thrown out from the palace out of politics. And in churches, there are politics. And in almost any institution, there are politics. And young pastors need to be aware of that. That sometimes to change from one phase to another, it could be politics gone bad. And you need to be prepared. But your purpose does not change. Your phases will change, but not your purpose.
Wow. Pastor Luke, I see you understand politics.
Yes. Yes, especially with my interaction with the training of pastors, sometimes we have had to be hands of refuge for people who have been chased, others who have also messed in other places. So, and also being in a school of ministry, dean, those opportunities have come, so I understand the politics, and sometimes they can be very harsh. Yeah. But sometimes God uses that to also push you to tell you are not supposed to be here. Yeah. Your season has also come. So, because if you become so comfortable, like an eaglet, the eagle has a way of releasing the eaglets out of the nests by pushing it to the thorns.
Okay. So Rev, we are coming close to this conversation. I didn't want to get into the transition aspect of it, mostly when it comes to politics within the church, because we've also seen wrangles when it comes to transition, where some hold to the old pastor, the others want a new one, and they even end up worshiping outside, and the other is worshiping inside the church. And we see these things in our news. There are bodies like ESCC, KCCB, NCCK. What can these umbrella bodies do to protect the church, and mostly the retirement also, and the clergy after their active ministry in pulpits? Because I feel like these bodies are like our court. If we can't go on the street, then they go on behalf of us.
Thank you for that question. And it's becoming even more relevant because with the new law, which is to come in, then most churches need to be under an umbrella body. And one of the roles of these umbrella bodies like NCCK and many others is to be able to hold and build capacity for the churches and the pastors who don't have that capacity. And cross-fertilization of ideas from the bigger boys in that umbrella to the ones now who are down there who don't have much. So they should see those as their roles and to be able to do to bring up the ones who are down there also to the same level. I've seen a number of initiatives. I was involved with one at a place called Korat Africa, and it was called Kanisa Bora, and they were trying to bring everybody, almost to the same level. And they were saying, initially some people were saying Bora Kanisa. So instead of us just saying Bora Kanisa, then you say Kanisa Bora, where there are no systems, and bringing up the ones who are down to the other higher level. So you learn from your brothers and sisters who are higher. Thank you.
Wow. Kanisa bora, si bora tu kanisa. Now that you're enjoying your retirement and the ministry, are you appreciating the service that you did within the ministry, the years that you served?
Yes, I appreciate them since I left that church very high, especially the financially. And even morally, when most of them, but they cannot be all at the same time, because I remember going to Anglican Church, the far we have gone, I happened to leave the church with two good flats, houses, during my time, with 7 years. And now they are very comfortable. In fact, during the, what do you call these this disease that was there, COVID, yeah. During that time, even the bishop was depending on that church because they were getting a lot of rent from it. So they could select some of the churches. You'll be giving us some money because the churches were, I think there was a very poor attendance in the churches during my absence. So I left them that way, so I find them to be very high. And even today, some of them, they they refer me to some of the questions outside there, although I cannot be able to be seen there as if I'm doing some fishy things here and there. But I know that I left a legacy in a way that I feel proud even when I go there. In fact, my two months in my absence, the one who came, he happened to carpet that place with cobro, about 1 acre, using the money that I left. So I feel that
You did something.
Yeah, I did something.
Amazing, amazing. Congratulations. I think it's amazing for a minister to count what they did, and it is visible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I want us to take our last comments. And I know for somebody like Melissa, you are in ministry and you are learning. This has been like a full lecture.
It really has. I've really learned a lot. It's reminded me the story of David when he went to battle, but he hadn't noticed that he was in the face of not being in battle, that he was about to be killed. So one of the soldiers came to him and was like, do not put out the light of Israel. That's in 2 Samuel. So I'm learning to be really aware of my phase, where I am, the structures that I need to build. Even with the ministry God is giving me to build, I need to be aware of what I need to do so that it can even prolong from generation to generation, or to hold on to it as if it belongs to me, but to understand I'm just a steward of what God has given me so that it can grow and become what God wants it to be.
Wow.
Thank you.
Powerful. Dr. Luke.
At the end, you must know how you end your season. Is it consultancy? Is it business? Is it humanitarian work? So you must be able to create that, to understand that season of metamorphosis and where you end. The last thing is uniqueness. Some people are very unique. Every minister is very unique. There are those who we are called from business, they end up, even after retirement, they have no problem. They actually end up into that business and support people more. Others who are teachers, they end up with their own schools. Others end up with their own hospitals. They were doctors. So I think let us embrace that uniqueness of every minister and maximize our time here on earth, so that we, at the end of the day, we can say, or the talents you are given, whether you are given 5 or 3 or 1, you did all of them well and you used them well. Others, it is God who will reward them from heaven. So people are unique. Let's follow that uniqueness and seasons.
All right.
And know how to end up well.
Asante. Reverend Willie.
One of the things I would particularly the clergy that are not part of any system, instead of just being independent and being there, they should find a way of being part of a system so that they learn a bit about hybrid, they learn a bit about order. It really helps. So you are cushioned to be part of a system that is working. That would be my encouragement, so that you don't die alone and then become, for lack of a better word, an embarrassment to the kingdom.
To the kingdom. Reverend, are we done with the Moses nuggets?
Yes, I think we are done with that. Maybe my closing remarks would be in Acts chapter 21. Paul is speaking to the elders. He tells them, preach the whole counsel of God. In Luke chapter 2, verse 52, we are told of Jesus, he grew up in stature, that's physically. He grew up in wisdom and in favor with God and with men. That means intellectually. He grew up socially, and he grew up also spiritually. There's a sense in which we may have had a history where the gospel was not, the whole counsel was not preached. And so what tended to happen, and this could be also to the elders of the various churches and other leaders, what happened is then the missionaries who came, they were supported from abroad. They even had their retirement benefits abroad. But to the local people, they were just serving for free. So now when our pastors came into the position, the elders didn't know about how to help the pastors to prepare for after. And the pastors themselves were not aware. And this is because, and the result is we are passing on from one generation to another. But when we preach the whole counsel of God, we then are able to preach to the whole person and to also model the same. And that means we need to include all the professionals, all the body of Christ together, and we'll be richer in that way.
Amen. Have you passed the baton to any of your children?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
I have, because my son, I have got only one son, others are ladies, 3 of them. He's a pastor like me, within the Anglican. He is holding, he knows the church where he is a priest. And at the same time, there is no one who is a teacher. I used professional, I'm a teacher. No one is a teacher, but as a priest, I have one. And I thought it is important to invest with our families so that they can emulate some of our activities that we are doing here and there. At the same time, we should have the social capital investment to the other people around, and even to the church. I think that is what I think is very important, so that when you go outside there, except I'm outside there, somebody will come and console me with this and the other one, and I feel good because some people are appreciating. And even to be called a priest, and even mutungateli, sisi tunasema mutungateli kwetu. I feel that I have invested, I have not wasted my time. And at the same time, even to house more than 30 people as a clergy and primary school teacher. I think I have done something.
Wow. Well, Shuja.
Yeah.
Asante sana. We appreciate you,
yes,
and the ministry that you did. And I think when you look at the joy in his face, he's really enjoying. Yes.
Yeah.
You are not at, what did you say, that level of despair? He's not there. He's not there. Thank you. You know, we've talked about this book. Where can one find it, so that it's not just the knowledge of us that have it? Where can one find this book? And do you offer your trainings for free, or you charge them, so that the next person who is watching, who might need this kind of wisdom, can reach out to you?
Thank you very much. Let me start with the first one, in terms of where can you get this book. This book is available at physical places. For example, at the bookshop at Nuria, it's at Bazaar, first floor, Moi Avenue, Nairobi, so you can get the books there. They also deliver once you pay. We also have the books at our offices at New Muthaiga Mall. Again, if you pay, we're able to deliver. Online, you can find the books at African Books. That website, they are there. You can also find them at Amazon. So the books are also, there. Okay. Now, the second part, in terms of our training, the trainings, I had this big burden to do the trainings for free. And for up to now, we are doing them for free. Now, these trainings, it's not just me or the team I have. We pull in other professionals. Some of them have gone with medical doctors, because when you're talking about retirement, there's that issue of old age diseases. There's also the issue of nutrition. So I've gone with people who have more expertise in those areas, and so that they can help us. One thing I would say thank you to everybody is that many professionals in Kenya are ready to give an hour or two or a half day for free if they understand the call and what you're looking at is something important. So it's not just us doing the trainings free. I've found doctors, medical doctors, I've found nutritionists and other professionals who are also ready to give those services for free. Just to finish that, then somebody would ask, how then do you do that, and how do you then sustain the ministry? One way of sustaining the ministry is through the sales of the book. The book is not free, but we use it also for reference after the training. Okay. And we also run an insurance agency called Beacon of Hope. Insurance agency is a beacon of hope and trust. So those ones help us. And lastly, like I was at ICC Kitengela on Sunday, and one lady asked me, have my father and mom in Nakuru, and they can be able to get some pastors together. Now, you say the training is free. what will happen about accommodation and fuel cost and all that? I said, my trainings are supposed to be free. What we assess is the economic ability of the pastors. If they can afford to house me, fine. If they can afford a hotel, fine. If they can't afford anything, I don't want any pastor to miss this training in retirement because of money. So we'll do the other side of tent making and make sure that each and every pastor finishes well and finishes strongly.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the gift you are in the body of Christ. It's an amazing point. My director has been saying, wind up, wind up. And this is what I want to tell my viewer who has been listening and watching this conversation. This is something that cannot just end in one sitting. We didn't even take a break just so that we have a flow to this conversation, listening to great men who are serving this nation in the call that the Lord has put in their lives. Until next time, bye-bye for now.